Hi, this is Tammy. Thanks for dropping by. In today's Fusion project video, I am going to show you how I used my Studio 2 cutter and the tumbler die to create what I'm calling a prayer pillow for the members of my grief support group. So I moderate a grief support group at my local senior center, and I wanted to give them something that they could hold on to literally while we're in session so that they can transfer some of the emotions and the energy that they're experiencing to that object. So I came up with the idea for this pillow. So what you see here is my hot mess on the floor mid-project. And I do have my yoga mat there because the Studio 2 cutter weighs about, I don't know, probably 20 something pounds. And I just wasn't in the mood to lift that up and put it on the table. It was easier and faster for me to kneel down on my yoga mat to cut out the fabric. You'll also see there that I added some machine embroidery, and the words say "just breathe," which I think is a calm, healing, caring mantra to redirect or focus energy during our session. So this is the AccuQuilt Studio die labeled tumblers, and it comes in 3 different sizes. It comes in the 1-inch size, the 3-inch size, and the 5-inch size. So for this project, I'll be using both the 5-inch and a 3-inch. And what you see in the center is you can kind of see where the blade outline is. And then in the center, you see what I call the filler pieces of the die, because if you do not fill in the center of the die, then your fabric won't cut properly. So it's kind of like Legos, you use these interchangeable pieces to get the size tumbler that you want. So one of my goals of this project was to serve as somewhat of a scrap buster. The members of the group each told me their favorite color, so my goal was to find fabric in my stash that matched their favorite color. So some of the strips were already cut wide enough so that I didn't have to trim them down, if that makes sense. So this pink piece right here was already approximately the width of the die, so I just hooped it up in my embroidery machine and I stitched out the words "just breathe," and then I ran it through the cutter, and that's what you see here. One of the major complaints I get regarding the AccuQuilt cutting system is that there's so much fabric waste. So I can kind of see how that would be an issue. This particular pink piece that you see here, if I were being more mindful, I could have trimmed off approximately about 1.5 inches on the right hand side, or maybe 2 inches in total, or maybe 1.5 inches total. And then that would have minimized more of the fabric waste. But it is what it is with the AccuQuilt cutting system. This tumbler die is sort of an odd shape, and so you will have some fabric wasted, can't deny that. But for me, the accuracy and the convenience and the speed of using this cutter system compared to rotary cutting is worth it for me. I have 2 embroidery machines. I have a Brother Stellaire, and I also have what you see here is a 15 needle Barrett commercial embroidery machine. So for this particular project, since I was in a time crunch, I decided to use this Barrett 15 needle because of proximity. It is in my studio very prominently, and my Brother Stellaire is in the closet, and I would have had to pull that machine out of the closet and set it up, and so I just use my Barrett. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the tumbler's die, this particular one that I have, comes in a 5-inch, 3-inch, and a 1-inch shape. So the outer portion, which is blue, is cut from the 5-inch die, and then that inner portion, the pink part, is cut with the 3-inch die. What I did was I took rice and I filled that pink pouch with rice. I sealed it up sealed it up, stitched it up. And then that pouch gets inserted in the blue outer portion of the pillow. And then I'll show you that process next. For the sewing portion of the project, I used my Juki TL 18 QVP Collector's Edition. As you can see here in the photo, I went ahead and stitched the two pieces together. I flipped it inside out like you would do if you were making a bag. I poked out the corners. I pressed everything down. I inserted the pink pouch, and then I stitched with the machine with 1/8 of an inch to not only close the pillow but add a top stitch. You may be wondering what those orange pieces of yarn are, and I will explain that in the next section of this video. Boom chicka pop, my prayer pillow is completed. As you can see there, I used a top stitch that is about 1/8 of an inch to close up the pillow and add an extra layer of detail. I embroidered the words "Just Breathe" on all four corners of the pillow. And then the orange chenille yarn hoops at the top and the bottom, I designed those to be held onto because two members in my group have some severe arthritis issues. And so I was thinking of them, and I'm thinking, okay, if they're holding on to this and they're emotional or they're crying or just holding on to it, if they lose their grip, I didn't want it to fall on the floor. So I added these hoops so that they can insert their hand, and then it's kind of hard to explain, and I probably should have taken a picture of me holding it so that you could see it, but I didn't. But the object of the game is for them to insert 4 of their fingers into the hoop so that when they're holding it, it doesn't drop to the floor. Mission completed. Here are all 9 of the prayer pillows. They are nicely wrapped in tissue paper and placed in these craft bags with my members' names on them. I cannot wait to give them to the members of my grief support group. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, giving me a like, leaving me a comment, all the things. And until we see each other next video, Fusion Makers, keep making.